Are you willing to accept Christ's invitation to know Him more intimately, love Him more intensely, and follow Him more closely, and then go out into the world and live His good news? If you say yes, then you could be the 13th apostle. Join Dan Duddy and Tom Caffrey, the odd couple of Catholic radio, as they ride the radio waves 2 by 2 to share the goodness, beauty, and truth of Jesus Christ and His church. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the 13th apostle.
Couldn't tell, ladies and gentlemen, by the lack of lyrics to that piece, but it's Walk, Don't Run by The Ventures, way back in the 60s. That's going to be the topic tonight, walking. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the 13th Apostle, where we explore the good, beautiful, and true of the Catholic faith and the Catholic Church. This is Tom Caffrey with my partner, Dan Duddy. How you, Dan?
Hey, Tommy. How you doing?
All right. And how are you?
Quite well. Never been better, in fact. But I think I said that last week, too.
So, walking, they said that, that song, or that piece, that music piece, I don't know why, I love that music. I've read something, that there's on the 30th anniversary of the Ventures group, they had a concert, and you can find it on YouTube. And this time they used for this event, they had 2 drummers. And one of them that they asked to play with them for this event was Max Weinberg, the drummer from Bruce Springsteen. Yep. And for others, he was Late Night with Conan. He was the band leader for Late Night with Conan, but I don't know how many people remember him for that. And he was my neighbor. When I would walk home from school, from elementary school, Our Lady of Sorrows in South Orange, New Jersey. I could walk by him on Montrose Avenue and hear him practicing from his garage.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It sounded a lot better than, I have two or three neighbors whose sons play out of their garage. And I remember, I think back in those days of walking by Max Weinberg's house with a little sentiment because he sounded so much better than my 2 neighbors. But it's just another part of the penance.
Very cool.
So they interviewed afterwards, and Max Weinberg and one of the other band members, the original band members, and he said, one of the great things about playing the Ventures music was that, when you're playing other songs and you're singing, you're belting out the songs, he said after 30 minutes your voice was shot. He said, but the Ventures, all their pieces were just instrumentals. They did the theme. Well, their piece was the theme for Hawaii 5-0.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Anyway, the whole point of doing that, Walk, Don't Run by the Ventures, I thought was appropriate because we have our guest did a lot of walking, just got finished today, as a matter of fact. Actually, I don't know, maybe an hour ago. And I got a photo on my phone from my son, Kevin. And it was of him standing in front of the cathedral. He's going to clarify this, but the Basilica of Aparecida. Kevin Caffrey, welcome to the 13th Apostle.
Thank you. It's great to be back on again.
Hey, Kevin. Good to hear your voice, bro. Good to hear you. Coach.
Dan, you want to explain that coach part?
Coach, everyone. I stuck my chest out, and I'm proud to say I was Kevin's high school football coach. Hey, Kevin, do you know the theme of Hawaii 5-0?
I do not, no.
I didn't think so, Tom.
Yeah, it's a great one. I'm going to play it.
We'll pin him down on that one. All right.
Yeah.
I want to hear
Come on.
about this.
So Kevin, this is when we had you on. We had you on for one other at the completion of your Camino, but a different Camino, both in spelling and in substance. That the first one that we had was the Camino de Santiago de Compostela in Spain, the Way of St. James in Compostela, Spain. And this one, you say what this one was, please.
This one is called the Caminho da Fe. It's in Brazil. And the main starting point is from a city called Águas da Prata, which means waters, silver waters. And the ending point for all of the routes, there are a few different routes you can take, but that's the main one, and it goes to Aparecida, which is named after Nossa Senhora de Aparecida, which means Our Lady of Aparecida, based off an apparition of the Virgin Mary to, I believe, two fishermen. They were fishing in a river here. I believe it's the largest river in Sao Paulo state. So anyway, I did this walk about 425 kilometers, so I guess it's about 250 miles from a different city called Tambaú, because I had a bit more time. I'm on a holiday vacation from my teaching job, so I wanted to get another pilgrimage in just because I had such a great time doing the Camino de Santiago in Spain, and had read that this is probably the most traveled pilgrimage in Latin America, I guess, on a path like Camino de Santiago. Obviously, there's probably more pilgrims going to Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City, but in terms of a path that can be hiked, this is the one. So living in Peru, Brazil is just a short hop away, and I spent the past 16 days doing the walk from Tambaú to Aparecida, and just arrived today, just before noon, when the Mass at the main Cathedral Basilica began. And we were honored by being able to sit in the main circle by the altar and received special blessing from the priest. So it was a great way to finish up this most recent pilgrimage.
Oh, that's a nice conclusion. I just picturing that, and I didn't know that we had a conversation shortly before this going on the air. So the Camino, Camino, in Spain, that was roughly just short of 1,000 miles, and that took how many days?
That one was 55 days.
55 days. And this one is Caminho, correct?
Well, it's the same word. It's just in Portuguese here because we're in Brazil, whereas obviously in Spain it's Spanish. So it's the same thing. That one's called Caminho de Santiago, the Way of St. James. This is the Caminho da Fe, which means the Way of Faith.
Okay, one more question, Dan, then I'll toss it over to you. Probably, what would be the main similarity and the main difference between the two pilgrimages?
Well, the main similarity is that they're both Catholic pilgrimages that go to probably the country's most important religious site. So in Spain, that would be the resting place of the Apostle St. James, and here in Brazil, the most important would be this image that is the apparition of the Virgin Mary in Brazil. This is the most important Catholic site here in Brazil. The most different thing is probably in some ways similar, but some ways different. The difference is the people and the culture in which the two pilgrimages taking place. So the cultures of Spain and Brazil are quite different. And of course, you interact with many of each respective country's people while on the path. And so that completely changes the nature. Besides the difference in the geography between the two pilgrimages that I took, the difference in the people that I interacted with was noticeable, particularly in their culture. But it was it's both blessings and the difference.
Kevin, I wanted to ask you about the differences in the cultures as well, but also I was going to ask you about the geography, and let's dig into that a little bit. and joking a little bit, a couple of minutes ago about my being your football coach, which was really not a joke, but it's fun to go back to that a little bit. But with you being an athlete and a wrestler, and all the discipline and the tough times, physical tough times and mental tough times that go with that, how straining or how far out of your comfort zone is Brazil versus Spain with regards to these two pilgrimages geographically, whatever? And with that being said, also throw this into your answer. I believe that you took the road less traveled, for lack of better terms, when you did El Camino de Santiago. So tell us a little bit about that too, okay? The differences with regards to the physicality and geographics.
Right. So both pilgrimages, I took the road less traveled, at least for portions of them. So in Spain, I started in Andalusia, which is southern Spain, whereas most people start in France. And then for this pilgrimage, I started in Tambau, where most people start in Aguas de Prata. But I eventually connected to Aguas de Prata and then continued my path from there. So there was about, I think, 4 or 5 days where I was walking on a path that very few other people were on. And when I told people where I started, many people were surprised that I had started in that space. And I really just did that because I had more time in my vacation here to be able to walk than was necessary for the main route from Aguas de Prata. But in terms of their difficulty, Spain was much more difficult for me, probably because I had never done a long walk like that before. And also my bag was considerably heavier in Spain. It's partly due to the fact that I needed more gear because of the simpler lodging in Spain than here. Everything here, you're staying at what are called posadas, which are just basically like a bed and breakfast, where you're staying at a lot of people's houses. They have a room for you. Sometimes they're more like a small hotel or motel, but I didn't need as many things, and so it wasn't as difficult in that respect. I wasn't in as much pain as I was. But the more difficult thing with the Camino was that the sun is very strong here, and even though it's winter, technically here in Brazil, the temperature outside is not so hot, but the sun is so strong that you could feel it so strongly on your clothes that it's almost like the feeling of your clothes when you take them right out of the dryer and you put them on. And that's what it's like walking for 8 hours out of the day if you're in the sun without any clouds or shade. So that was a difficulty. And more difficult is, and I also experienced this in Spain, was dealing with the dogs. There were several incidents where I had dogs chasing after me on this route, and almost all the incidents that I had were on the portion of the route that preceded the main route. So on this part that we call you can call the road less traveled, is where the dogs were not used to seeing pilgrims, because I saw many dogs on the main route and they never came after me. But on the part where I was in the less traveled route, there were many dogs were coming after me. At one point, I was in a back road, and all of a sudden, I heard all this barking, and about 8 dogs charged me at the same time.
Oh my gosh! And wild dogs? That's like a bad dream. They're
not wild though. They're on some guy's farm, but they're not fenced in. They're not chained up. Thankfully, these were about medium-sized dogs, but still, it's quite a lot. And the owner eventually realized what was going on, and he came out and he starts yelling, and he's yelling at his dogs. I don't know what he's saying because it's in Portuguese, but it's having no effect on restraining the dogs. And thankfully, they kind of got around me, but they didn't get too close. And that's why I have my walking stick, which I learned from the Caminho de Santiago. But I've got it down, and I'm yelling at the dogs. Ready to throw it out as best as I could, but not long after that, I did buy a knife, so I was a little bit more prepared in the end. Thankfully, I didn't need to use that, but
that's interesting.
I don't know.
Very cool, Tom.
Yeah. So Kevin, you sent me a photo of a man next to you. He had a big smile on his face, wearing a cap. The sun was right on both of you. You were holding what looked like a big orange. So these are the things that I love to hear and learn about when you're interacting with the people. And tell us about that experience, which may or may not be significant to you, but I think everybody would enjoy it.
So I was walking on the Camino, and all of a sudden a car was coming towards me, and it happens all the time. Cars passing me, and all of a sudden this guy, reaches his passenger seat and grabs something and just sticks his arm out. And as he's driving, he's got this orange in his hand. And I just take it from him. I'm like, thank you, obrigado. And then it was great. It's reflective of the general attitude of the people towards the pilgrims. There's a sense of respect for the people that are going on pilgrimage, doing this act of faith. And something I also experienced very much in Spain as well. One of the things I loved about Spain is there's a special place in their culture, I think, in their society that they have for the people that are doing the Caminho de Santiago. And, that's been in Spain for centuries, since the Middle Ages, whereas this Camino in Brazil is relatively new. I think it's only about 20 years old. So even though it's so young, and even though many of the people might not be as familiar with it as Caminho de Santiago, the local people still acted in a way and treated me in a way with so much hospitality and friendliness. And even other pilgrims, Brazilian pilgrims that were on the way, almost everybody that was on the pilgrimage was Brazilian. And they were very helpful to me on this pilgrimage. But this one man in particular, he had this particularly unique way of helping me out. And then he gave it to me, and then he eventually turned his car around and came back, and he's like, I saw you at the chapel next to my house a few kilometers back, and just when I asked where I'm from, and just gave me some pointers about the city that I was about to walk into. So very helpful, very interested, kind, and generous people that I met along the way, and he was a perfect example of that.
Excellent.
Wow.
How about the vibe on the hike? So, from my vantage point, I'm thinking, when you said there was a car, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not thinking that there's a car. But then you're also walking through towns and cities, right? So, but you're also walking through some pretty isolated areas as well, right? Now, Yeah, so what's the vibe in those areas, perhaps? What does that feel like? What does it look like? Are you walking with clergy? Are you seeing priests? Are you seeing our beloved sisters, our nuns on the path? Churches, and if you are we looking at really simple churches? Anything majestic? What's the vibe on the path?
So the first part of this path, the less traveled section, there was almost nobody. I was getting passed by a few bicyclists that are doing it, but mostly the bicyclists are doing it because they're on bikes, so they can travel longer distances much more quickly. But in that first section, I had very little interaction with any other. I don't think I walked with anybody else. I was very immersed in the environment around me. So that environment was a lot of farms that were growing, especially sugarcane, sorghum. There were oranges, there were olives, several other crops that I ran into a lot.
Kevin? How many days, Kevin, would you say that first phase was, so we can visualize that?
About 5 days.
Wow. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, about 5 days, and just being isolated, and that's what I wanted. I mean, that's one thing that I really appreciated on the Caminho de Santiago is the isolation, the solitude, being able to think and reflect and not have distractions. As nice it is to talk to people along the way, it's also nice to be in that isolated environment in nature, something that I never experience when I'm in Lima. It's an absolute industrial nightmare in some ways. But it's extreme chaos all the time. Whereas, that's what I exactly wanted to get away from. So this was a great opportunity. Once I got to the main route, then I started interacting with other people. There were some priests on the route. I didn't meet them. I heard of them that were walking at a similar pace to me, apparently, but I never got the chance to meet them. But a lot of them are people that, the vast majority of the pilgrims that I ran into were bicyclists. and that's just because they're passing me on the route. But those are the kind of people. I missed a part of your question. Sorry.
No, and I'm going to add something to it, and then we'll turn it over to Dad.
Okay.
The accommodations. What's the level of accommodations in contrast between the two routes?
So the ones in Spain are called albergue. Sorry, go ahead.
No, Kevin, I'm sorry. Regarding the road less traveled, I'm talking about Brazil versus the road. Yeah. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping in a tent at night? What are you doing?
No, I didn't need a tent at all. The distances between the villages was not so far, where each village had a place where I could stay. I wouldn't say there's a huge difference. The main thing would have been that on the main route there are options where it has a larger capacity of pilgrims, and it's a bit more of an industrial feel that you could tell that they're used to getting a lot more pilgrims, whereas in the road less traveled, one of the bed and breakfasts I stayed at is this older couple, and I said, "Oh, do you have a room for the night?" And they said, "Yes." I was like, "Okay, how much?" They said 150 reais, which is the currency here. And I was like, "Okay, can I see it?" And they showed it to me, and it was the two beds in the living room, and I realized that there was a curtain that they pull across the living room. And I was like, and my feet were so beat up by the end of that day, I didn't want to walk another yard further, so I just said, "Okay, that's fine. They seem nice enough." And actually, it was great because the lady home cooked everything that they had, whereas some of these larger the posadas, these inns, they're a lot of more pre-packaged goods, like cold cuts and buns and stuff like that. So it was nice in the more intimate setting to get the home cooked meals, so to speak.
Yeah, good memory.
Yeah, right. And one other difference that I would like to point out between the two, both the Camino and the Caminho da Fe and the Camino de Santiago, is that the Camino de Santiago, you have a bit much more history there. The churches and the cathedrals that you walk past and walk into have so much more art and architectural mastery than what I saw in Brazil, just because it's a younger country. But the thing that I really liked about the Caminho da Fe in Brazil is that along the path, people have taken it upon themselves to build these very small chapels.
Oh, nice.
And you could see they put like a list of people or the plaque of the families in the area that contributed to the building of that chapel. And they're designing a particular way. They're honoring a particular image of the Virgin, for example, or a particular saint. And it was very nice to be able to stop into each one of these, say a quick prayer, and then go on my way. And it was great because it was a reflection of not only the community that participated in building it, but the type of society that would want to contribute to the pilgrimage itself as a way of honoring both their families and their community. I thought that was something really beautiful. Yeah. So.
Oh man, that's wonderful.
And inside of those chapels, besides they collectively decorated themselves, that people come in and take care of, they clean it, but they also leave bottles of water for pilgrims. They leave medicines. They leave things to take care of blisters, snacks. They have. They put each one of them. Most of them have this stamps. So you get your pilgrim's passport, or here it's called the credential. And I don't know, maybe I have about 36 or 48, something like that, spaces. And then so for each chapel or church that you go to, or each posada that you stay at, they have their own individual stamp, and you get your credentials stamped, and that shows as proof that you have been to that particular place. So when you finally reach Aparecida, you show this credential to the people working there, and then they give you the official certificate, which is created in the same way that they do it in the Camino de Santiago, except in the Camino they don't have these types of chapels to the same extent as they do in the Caminho da Fe.
Wow.
So it's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's a word. Okay, so one last question. You got 90 seconds to answer this question. Why?
Why did I do it?
Yeah. Why? What's the purpose? Your mission was to go on this pilgrimage just like the other one and any of the others. What's the purpose?
Well, for me, I mean, maybe it goes back to the football and wrestling days, but it's easier for me to get the discipline to act with my body than it is with my mind sometimes. And of course, it's a recognition of the composite of the body and the soul when you use them together in a way that is a form of, let's say, a physical prayer that glorifies and honors God. And I find that for me, doing that and putting my whole energy into a way that honors and glorifies God, that's something that's easier for me to do than perhaps having a rigorous prayer routine. And I also, of course, I love the adventure, and I love meeting new people, and I love being part of other societies, faith traditions, and customs and cultures. So having the honor to do that in Brazil, a country that I've been to twice before, and I really like and admire the people. It was a great opportunity for me to be able to do this while I'm already in South America. So all those things together made it a more than good group of reasons to do the Caminho da Fe.
So
Wow.
That's perfect. That's a perfect way to end it. And I'm going to say real quickly, you said it beautifully, a physical prayer. And Dan, it reminds me, you sent me a text one time, I don't know, a couple of years ago. You were going to give an important talk. You were out west, and you asked me to say a prayer for you. And I said, Danny, done. But keep in mind, everything you're doing, your whole talk is a prayer. Your walk to that talk is a prayer. Everything is prayer. And because everything you're doing is to glorify God. And as Kevin said, his caminos, his way of St. James, way of the faith, way of Christ is always to glorify God. That is the good, the beautiful, and the true of the Catholic faith and the Catholic Church. Kevin Caffrey, wonderful conversation. Thanks for joining us. Go hit the bed. I know you're exhausted.
Thanks for having me on, both of you. Great to talk to you.
Till the next Camino.
It's a great experience to the next Camino.
Yeah, Tom, you must be so proud. And Kevin, you have coached me, and you have filled my heart, fired me up today, brother.
Yeah.
It's so nice to talk to you, Kevin.
Yeah.
God bless you, brother.
Great.
Stay tuned, folks, for the Angelus with your prayer intentions, and Peter and Jemmy.
WQPHradio.org. Marianne, Jean, James, Tom, and the crew, thank you for this great platform. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you, Kevin. God bless you, Danny.
God bless you guys. God bless you all.
God bless.
Thank you for listening to the 13th Apostle with Dan Duddy and Tom Caffrey. For more information on Dan, visit his website at www.danduddy.com or email dcduddy@gmail.com. Tom's website is faithpilgrims.com or email trcaffrey@faithpilgrims.com. How about you? Will you be the 13th Apostle?